Welcome to the Salesforcesight podcast, brought to you by Creme de la CRM.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving into Agentforce. It's that really interesting place where Salesforce meets AI.
Definitely. And we've got some fantastic insights lined up.
We do. We've looked at advice from 6 experienced Salesforce admins. We're calling them Agentblazers. These are folks really leading the charge in building with AI.
Right, the pioneers.
So if you've been thinking, there must be a smarter way to handle these repetitive tasks, or maybe you're just curious about how AI actually works inside Salesforce.
And this conversation is definitely for you.
We've distilled their advice, focusing on how you can get started effectively.
Exactly. Our mission today is really practical. We want to help you, our listener, figure out, what makes a good Agentforce use case for your specific situation.
And how to tell if an agent is even the right solution compared to, say, other automation.
Yeah. And then how to actually build it without pulling your hair out, how to prep your data, which is huge, and crucially, how to show the value of what you've built.
Okay, so let's jump in. Where do you even start? Finding those use cases seems paramount.
It really is. Joseph Kuban, he's a technical architect and MVP, talks about looking for friction points.
Friction points, yeah, bottlenecks.
Exactly. Places where things slow down or they're inconsistent or maybe you can't personalize things the way you want. He says look for recurring problems that have a measurable impact. Not just cool ideas, but things that actually affect speed, consistency, or that customer experience.
Measurable impact. That feels key. Vanessa Thomas, a consultant and community leader, kind of builds on that, right?
She does. She suggests targeting the tasks that are, well, frankly, kind of boring or tedious.
This stuff nobody wants to do.
Pretty much. The manual, repetitive processes, especially if they have defined steps already. If your team is spending hours on something repetitive, that's a big flashing
It
sign.
makes sense. Free up people for more interesting work. And Janine Marquardt, an AI strategist, has a slightly different angle.
Yeah, I liked hers. She says, start with a business problem you already know really well, something familiar,
Okay.
and then ask, how could an agent potentially help here? Sometimes that deep familiarity sparks the best ideas,
That's interesting. Instead of looking for a nail because you have a hammer, start with the problem you know.
Exactly. And Zachary Banks, another architect, suggests weaving Agentforce into your regular problem-solving process.
Yeah.
Like make it another tool in the toolkit when you're looking at the software development lifecycle.
So it's not this separate, scary AI thing. It's just another option to consider.
Right. And Venki Sundaram, who's a certified architect, emphasizes picking use cases where the data foundation is strong already.
The data. We'll come back to that.
We definitely will. But he also mentions looking for things you can implement relatively quickly and then scale up.
Quick wins build momentum.
Totally. And then there's our very own Chris Stiegel here at Creme de la CRM.
What's our local expert say?
His advice is refreshingly simple. Don't overthink it at the start. He literally says, identify the least enjoyable part of your workday.
I could think of a few.
Right. That specific pain point could be your perfect starting point for an agent, giving you an immediate personal win.
I like that. Very practical. Okay, so you've got some ideas floating around. How do you actually decide if an agent is the right answer versus, I don't know, a flow or a process change?
Good question. Joseph Kuban comes back to his keyword, impact. Ask yourself, does this truly optimize outcomes? Will it genuinely improve the customer experience, boost satisfaction, or, tangibly reduce costs? That's the litmus test.
And Vanessa Thomas helps differentiate, doesn't she? She talks about complexity.
Yeah, she makes a great point. Simple automation tasks, maybe standard Salesforce tools are fine, maybe even better.
Right.
Agents, she says, really excel with complex problems. Things that need data from multiple places maybe need a bit more intelligence than just a simple if-then rule.
So not for cracking a nut with a sledgehammer.
Exactly. And Jean Marquardt suggests a more structured evaluation. Brainstorm all the options. Maybe it's just changing the process, maybe it's training, maybe it's standard automation, and maybe it's an agent.
And then weigh them up.
Yeah, look at the potential ROI, look at the complexity for each one, and then decide if Agentforce makes the most sense.
Zachary Banks adds another factor to consider, the number of interactions.
Right. If a process involves multiple steps, multiple people handing things off, an agent could be brilliant for triaging or streamlining that whole chain.
Okay, coordinating the chaos.
Kind of. And Venki Sundaram brings it back to basics. Look at your current process. Can an agent meaningfully improve it? Be honest.
If it's just a tiny improvement, maybe not worth the effort yet.
Perhaps not. And Chris Stiegel from Creme de la CRM has that great question. Is this why I was hired?
Ooh, I like that.
If you or your team are spending loads of time on tasks that aren't your core strategic value,
Then maybe an agent is the right solution to free you up for that higher value work. All right, let's say you've decided, yes, an agent is the way to go. Now you have to actually build it. What pitfalls should people watch out for? How can they streamline this?
Joseph Kuban emphasizes being ready to iterate. It probably won't be perfect first time.
Good dose of realism there.
Yeah, he says view setbacks as learning opportunities. Expect refinement.
Vanessa Thomas advocates for structure, right? Understand, design, then build.
Exactly. Don't just jump into the build screen. Really understand the problem first, map out how the agent should work, then start configuring.
And Janine Marquardt stresses documentation beforehand.
Yes. Critically important. Document what the agent should do, and just as importantly, what it shouldn't do.
Define the boundaries.
Absolutely. It saves so much rework later if everyone's clear on the scope from the start.
Practical tip from Zachary Banks, Trailhead.
Oh, definitely. He specifically mentions the Build an Agent badge. Get your hands dirty in a safe environment. It avoids surprises when you build for real.
Good shout. Free training.
Can't beat it. And Venki Sundaram adds a note of caution about moving from a proof of concept, like a small test, to full production. That needs serious planning. Think about data validation, coordinating with other systems, all that operational stuff.
It's not just flipping a switch.
Not at all. And our expert, Chris Stiegel, has 2 more great tips here. 1, don't be afraid to ask for help. Use the community colleagues.
Don't struggle alone.
Right. And 2, build something you're actually interested in. If you're genuinely curious about the problem you're solving, you'll learn faster and better.
Makes total sense. Okay, we hinted at it earlier, but let's talk data. This seems foundational.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Agents are data hungry. Joseph Kuban talks about unifying and harmonizing your customer data, ideally in Data Cloud.
Getting that single source of truth.
Exactly. Making sure it's accurate, deduplicated, enriched, giving the agent a complete picture to work with.
Vanessa Thomas asks that fundamental question. Do you trust your data?
It's so basic, but so vital. It's accurate. Is it formatted correctly? Is it even being entered properly in the first place?
Because the agent relies entirely on that.
Completely. Jean Marquardt suggests using readiness tools like Cuneiform before building. Find those duplicates, the stale data, the formatting issues, and clean them up first.
Proactive data cleaning.
Yep. Zachary Banks advises really understanding your data model. Know your objects, your fields, the quality within them. And he points out there are signature success accelerators from Salesforce if you need help with that deep dive.
Good to know. Help is available.
And Venki Sundaram raises a critical point. Always, always do a user data privacy and security review before you deploy anything.
Non-negotiable. Trust is everything.
Absolutely. And Chris Stiegel at Creme de la CRM puts it bluntly, if your team doesn't trust the data, fix it. Period. Agents need good data, just like humans do.
So get the data house in order first.
It's a prerequisite, really.
Okay, fast forward. You've built your agent, the data's clean, it's running. Now you need to tell people, stakeholders, leadership, why it's great. How do you articulate that value?
Joseph Kuban suggests starting with processes these people already understand. Show how the agent takes over simpler parts, allowing human agents to tackle the complex stuff faster and better.
Show the efficiency gain.
Right. Vanessa Thomas recommends storytelling.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Paint a picture. What was the challenge before? How does the agent solve it? And what's the positive outcome? Make it relatable.
Connect emotionally.
Exactly. Jane Marquardt focuses on metrics. Clearly state the problem, then show the agent's impact on things like productivity, maybe fewer escalations, higher CSAT scores.
Hard numbers.
Quantifiable results speak volumes. Zachary Banks takes that a step further. Connect the agent's impact directly to the big business goals. Revenue, churn, customer satisfaction, show how the agent helps move those needles.
Link it to the C-suite's priorities.
Precisely. And Venki Sundaram adds, don't forget the user experience improvements. Even if it's hard to put a number on it, making work smoother for your team or easier for customers has real value.
Happier teams, happier customer.
It matters. And finally, our own Chris Stiegel's tip. Build a proof of concept that solves a specific pain point for your stakeholders.
Show, don't just tell.
Exactly. When they see it fixing something they care about, that's incredibly persuasive. Personal impact wins hearts and minds.
Love it. Okay, last piece. Resources. Where should people go if they want to learn more or get started?
Joseph Kuban highly recommends the #Agentblazers Slack community. He says Trailhead is great for basics, But the Slack channel is where you get practical, real-world advice from peers.
Learning from others' experiences.
Definitely. Vanessa Thomas is, unsurprisingly, a big fan of Trailhead. Start with the champion trail, she says. Learn the basics. Maybe even build that first agent there.
Get the foundation.
Right. Jane Marquardt agrees Trailhead is the starting point. But she stresses continuous learning and hands-on real-world experience are key to actually mastering it.
You gotta build stuff.
You do. Zachary Banks points towards local Trailblazer community groups. Learn from folks near you, see their examples, maybe avoid mistakes they've already made.
Tap into the local network.
Yeah. Venki Sundaram suggests getting the Agentforce Specialist certification or really completing the relevant Trailhead modules for a solid knowledge base.
Formal learning path.
And Chris Stiegel's top tip for fast-tracking learning: participate in a hackathon.
Trial by fire.
Sort of, but that immersive, intense, hands-on building in a short time. He says it's unparalleled for learning quickly.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. What are the big takeaways from these Agentblazers?
Well, it really boils down to a few key things, I think. First, focus on identifying real business problems, those friction points.
Not just cool tech ideas.
Right. Second, really evaluate if an agent is the best solution for that specific problem. Don't just assume.
Consider all the options.
Third, plan your build carefully. Document, iterate, understand the problem before you start clicking.
Structure and planning.
Fourth, data, data, data. Clean it, trust it, secure it. It's non-negotiable.
The foundation.
And fifth, always be ready to articulate the value. Use stories, use metrics, connect it to business goals, show the impact.
Demonstrate the ROI.
Exactly. The common thread seems to be start with what you know, focus on tangible business impact, and don't be afraid to learn as you go.
That's great advice. We really hope you, listening, explore some of those resources, Trailhead, the #Agentblazer community, and maybe take Chris's advice and think about that one tedious task. Could that be your entry point into Agentforce?
It's a great place to start. Maybe you have a final thought to leave folks with, drawing on something Brittany Gibson from the Salesforce Admin Relations team said.
Oh, yeah.
She reminds us that the best, most effective agents make work better for everyone, for the internal teams, and for the customers.
Win.
Exactly. So the question for you is, what seemingly small frustration in your daily workflow, if solved by an agent, could actually unlock a significant improvement for both your team and your customers? Something to chew on.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for diving into this with me today.
My pleasure. Lots of exciting potential here.